Okay, I'm going to make a start. Hi everyone, there might be the odd latecomer, but we will make a start now. So can everyone hear me okay at the back? Yes, perfect. Okay, so I'm Stacey McKnight. Thanks for coming today and welcome to Manchester. I'm a lecturer on the psychology course here at Manchester, and I'm also the admissions tutor. So that means I'm involved with things like open days and the admissions process. So thank you for coming. I can see a lot of waving hands. I know it's very warm in here. It's also nice, though, to see some in the front row because that hardly ever happens with student lectures. It's like the back side of the room, so that's really nice. So thank you for coming and welcome. Hopefully you're not too warm. It's been a busy day in this room and it's obviously so hot outside. But hopefully we'll distract you telling you a little bit about the course here at Manchester. If you might have already come, but if you do have any questions after this talk, we have the psychology stand over in the Jean McFarlane building. So it's not in this building. If you want to go there, it's number 92 on your map, and you go back to the main road, turn left, and when you see the tin can building that looks like a tin of beans, then you turn left just before that and you'll see the Jean McFarlane building. And there's psychology, cogneuro stands there. And over there, if you've got any specific entry requirement questions, there's the administrators there that deal with all of the admissions and so on, so they can give you really detailed advice if you do have any questions. There's also a whole host of student ambassadors on the psychology degree and the cogneuro degree, if you want to have a chat to them at all about the course. If there is a few people struggling to sit, there is plenty of room in the middle if you want to try and come through to the middle. But while you're doing that, I will make a start. So, welcome to Manchester. Hopefully you've had a chance to have a look around today, or you will have chance, and if it's new to you, you'll get a chance to see what an incredible city it is. It really is a great city. It's so vibrant. And there's so much to do. So hopefully you will have a chance to take a look around and maybe explore further than Oxford Road and the campus. Of course, on Oxford Road, we have the University of Manchester, but we also have the Manchester Metropolitan Uni that way as well. So it's a real student vibe around here. Across the whole city it is, because it's just a student-heavy city. And it's a really buzzing and exciting times, especially when every semester starts. It's really exciting. So campus itself, I won't go on too much because we're here to learn about psychology, but just to say how much there is to do. Whether you're into your sports, we've got squash courts, you know, full-length 50-metre swimming pools, workout studios, well-being rooms, numerous gyms available. Culturally, you might have seen the Manchester Museum, which recently had a huge renovation and has reopened. The Contact Theatre, Whitworth Art Gallery, John Rylands Library, so you might have had a look round at some of those. And of course, we have so many social things for students. So you might have noticed the Manchester Academy. We've got the Academy 1, 2 and 3, all just over the road. And the Students' Union as well. So I will be telling you about the course, but also the social side of things is so important to us, and that students get, university experience. So, for example, the Students' Union has got over 400 societies that you can join, so there's always something to interest everyone, and we do encourage students, to have that extracurricular. There's actually even a Quidditch society, if that interests anyone in particular. So yeah, just welcome to our campus, and I do hope you've had a nice day, and longer if you're staying any longer. So I'm here then to tell you specifically about psychology at Manchester. And we are a very old course. We're one of the oldest courses for psychology in the UK. We've actually, recently, a few years ago, celebrated our 100th anniversary of teaching psychology. So I'd like to think we've got quite good at it by this point. And we are a Russell Group university. Now, that might mean something to some of you, and some of you might think, why does that matter? And it basically means that we're part of a consortium of leading British universities that are research universities. And it means we focus on cutting-edge research, teaching excellence, innovation, And it's, you know, the leaders, we lead the way in terms of research and so on when you're part of a Russell Group university, which means you're taught by highly qualified academics. So all your lecturers on the course, that if you come to psychology, will have a PhD in their area of psychology or related field. So we've got experts in mental health, neuroscience, memory, language, dementia, I could go on, child development and so on. So we have experts teaching you on the course, which is part and parcel of coming to a Russell Group university. We also have a thriving psychology society. And as I said, the social side of things is hugely important to us as well. And we've got a lot of support available on the course above and beyond the academic side of things. And that's something that I will be touching on when I talk to you today. So I could go on and say how great we are, but the rankings do speak for themselves. So we've been voted again the 6th best university in the UK. That's a few years running now in the QS rankings. And we also get excellent BPS endorsement. And that's the British Psychological Society that accredits our degree programme. Now, if you're not sure about what that is, if you do want to go on to a career in psychology, make sure, even if you don't come to Manchester, make sure that you go to a university that has a BPS accredited degree, because that means that it's accredited by the institution that, you know, the chartered psychologist. So it's really important if you want to continue psychology study that the degree is accredited. We actually have excellent endorsement, and they re-accredited our programme 2 weeks ago, so it comes around every 5 or so years, and they had really excellent feedback, which I'll touch on as I talk about the course. But yeah, that's something to be aware of as well if you want to study psychology. So, in terms of the course then, and what the course actually looks like. So psychology is a really, really broad discipline, and there's lots of different areas. So in year 1, we give you 10 introductory psychology units to give you a really broad overview of the programme. Now, it might be that you're completely new to psychology, or it might be that you've done a lot of study of psychology in A-levels, for example. Either way, we want you to give you that foundation and get you to do these introductory units so that every student sees the variety of different areas and themes across psychology and gets a feel for that. You can swap out one unit in year 1 for a language unit, and some students choose to do that because it's something they think will add to their, you know, expertise and their CV. But other than that, it's quite compulsory units in that first year. In year 2, there's 12 units, and there's a little bit more choice in terms of you can swap out up to 2 units. So there's a little bit more autonomy. And these units now you can swap out for a language, or you can swap out for units offered by our University Central USIL units, we call them. So there's lots of different modules that you can add. And it might be that a lot of students think, no, I'll stick to a core psychology degree, and that's great. And then there's other students who think, no, psychology is quite broad. That area isn't my favourite. I'd rather bump up my CV or get some experience, or I'm really interested in this, and it broadens their education. So these USIL units are a range of things from Introduction to British Sign Language, Innovation for a Sustainable Society, Leadership in Action, Forensic Medicine. There's even one called Are We Alone? The Search for Extraterrestrial Life. So can definitely broaden out. And the reason that we offer these is it's a chance for students to bring in these additional skills to their psychology degree. And there's over 30 to choose from for that second year. There is an optional year between years 2 and 3 for students to go and do a year placement or a study abroad year. Now, it's completely optional, and often I get asked, do you need to sign up to this option beforehand? And the answer is no. You just come to us and do psychology, and at the start of year 2, you're given your options about doing study abroad or a placement year. And if you want to do that, you can take up that option, and that would turn your degree into a 4-year degree. So it would be BSc Psychology with study abroad, or BSc Psychology with placement year. I'll come back to this, though, because I'm going to tell you a little bit more about those options. So in your final year, whether that's a 3rd year or a 4th year, if you took the option, you really start to tailor your degree to the areas that you're interested in, and you only do 4 course units rather than 10 or 12, and you pick those units. So you can really start to more in-depth study areas of psychology that you're really interested in going into, or are really relevant to your career choices, or that just really interest you. Now, 2 of those can actually be swapped out if you want for any of the units I've mentioned already, or actually we have units from the Manchester Business School that you can choose to bring in your 3rd year if you wanted to. And those are things like marketing, HR, people management, and change. So, like I said, some students choose a really psychology-focused degree, and some bring in as many options as possible just to really broaden their degree. And in that final year, you do your final year dissertation, your final year research project, and I will be coming back to that. So the course then, as I've said, psychology is a broad subject. So we've structured the course into 4 main themes, and you do modules across each of the themes. And these 4 themes represent the modern discipline of psychology. So we have the evolution and development theme, and this is all about how humans develop from infancy through to adolescence, through to older age. So there's units such as Introduction to Developmental Psychology and Lifespan and Aging in that theme. The second theme, Mind and Brain, is all about how we interpret, attend to, and process information. So things like Intro to Cognition, Brain and Behaviour, Sensation and Perception are the units you do in that theme. We have Psychology and Society, definitely my favourite. Units such as Social Psychology and Group Dynamics. So all about how people interact with each other and how that shapes our interpersonal behaviour. It's the units I teach on, so that's obviously why they're my favourite. And the 4th theme, Adaptability and Well-being. So this is all about our physical and our mental well-being. So units such as Mental Health and Distress and Health Psychology. So looking at our mental health, but also our physical health, and what encourages us, what persuades us, or gets us to behave in certain ways and engage in certain health behaviours or not, and so on, the psychology behind that. So that's kind of the structure and the themes that we have, that we cover across psychology, and that's why it is such a broad spectrum with a broad range of focus. So throughout the 3 years then, the modules across all 4 themes build upon the content. So in year 1, you get the intro units that I've just touched on across those 4 themes, and then you have these cross-cutting 2 units as well. So we have research methods and stats, and that's all about teaching you to conduct and analyse research. So how to do a literature review, design a study, how to analyse data, how to collect data, and it's all about training you to be a psychology researcher. Now, these are cross-cutting because they can relate to any theme, they can relate to any topic. So, for example, we do research in social psychology, research in developmental psychology, and so on. And we have another cross-cutting unit called professional development. And this, in your 1st year, is all about giving you the support to study at university level. So it's about study skills in general. So essay writing, report writing, referencing, and then a little later we start to think about career development as well, even as early as year 1. So in year 2, you then build on these modules. So you've had an introduction to developmental psychology, and that turns into developmental psychology in year 2. So you start to build on those modules. And as I said, there's an option to swap 2 modules out. And we also have these cross-cutting units that build. So we have statistics and data analysis. That's more of an in-depth focus on the statistical analysis of data when we do research. So there is a real maths element here. And we also have a career management or career placement option. And this is something I'm going to come back to because it's something we're really proud that we integrate into the degree. We actually give you a unit that's credits for the 2nd year that's all about focusing on your career development rather than expecting you to do it completely outside of your studies. So we embed it into the programme to really give it a focus. We obviously encourage extra as well if you want, but it gives you that time to make sure you're getting some focus on the career for year 2. So I'll be coming back to that option. And in your final year, you choose your 4 units, as I said, from a range of different topics, psychology and otherwise. And then you do a final year research project supervised by a member of academic staff. So by year 3, students can really focus in on areas that interest them. So they get paired up with a project supervisor, and work closely with them to design, conduct, and write up an original piece of research. So across that 3rd year, you work on that throughout the year to do that final year research project. And the British Psychological Society, who recently reaccredited us, actually really praised the scope of our students' work for their final year research project. Just the range of topics that we offer is really broad. We have students doing work from juror decision making to sleep quality and psychosis to perceptions of feminism and gender roles. There's just a real range from every area of psychology. And they really praise the scope of it. And actually, every year, some of the student work is such high quality that some of them are published in academic journals. So something we're really proud of. And I know that students, even at this stage, before you've even started uni, have this kind of perception of that final year dissertation being this daunting piece of work. But actually, students really enjoy it when they come to it. They work closely with staff, and they're really supported with that. So it turns out to be what we think, on the whole, is an enjoyable experience. So you might be thinking, how will you learn then? How will it differ to the study you're doing now from college, for example? And some of it will be similar, some of it will be different. So for the modules I've talked about, the main framework you have is a lecture. So that is a large-scale lecture with the whole course in the room, and we'll give you, for example, for developmental psychology, a lecture on the key topics and key information for that particular week. So you'll have a lecture for each week. The same for social. But then we also have smaller group sessions. And that's things like tutorials or seminars, which are groups of around 20, 30 students. And it's all about having more of a tailored interactive session in that to work on what you've been taught in the lecture. So whether that's doing little group work or discussions, it's all about giving you the chance to interact with the staff and do some work that you can get feedback and so on in those smaller group sessions. And we also have research classes as well. So these are where we train you in research and on a particular topic. We'll work through week by week, talking about a topic, designing a study, going collecting data, analysing it, and we'll do that in smaller groups. So we link that, and you do that alongside the lectures as well. Now, I know I'm giving you loads of information, and actually you're not expected to, of course, remember it. We just want to give you a flavour of what it looks like. And when students come to us, then we obviously talk you through exactly what each class is and what's expected during each thing, and we give you a real induction in Welcome Week, we call it, to how everything works. And it does take students sometimes a couple of weeks to really get their head around all the different types of classes. The other classes we hold are stats classes. So rather than just giving you a lecture on statistics and leaving you to it, we then have these practical classes where you can really work with staff to work through the materials and make sure it all makes sense. And it's university, so of course we embed a lot of time in the week for independent study as well, for you to be working on catching up on lecture notes, reading through suggested readings, doing coursework, working in groups, and so on. So that's all really embedded into your week as well. We give you time to speak to your academic advisor, but I'll be coming back to that to make sure you know what I mean by that. So the idea here is that we offer variety. It's not just lectures like people sometimes imagine. It's a real variety of different types of classes and different learning styles throughout. And in terms of how we assess you then. So the key here again is variety. So exams and essays, I'm sure you're quite used to, even though things have been obviously quite impacted over the last few years. But we include exams at the end of modules. We have essay-style assessment throughout the degree as well. But we also try to include other types of assessment. So we train you up in writing research posters, which a psychology researcher would use if they were presenting some work at a conference. So we show you exactly how to do that, how to design a research poster. We do things like oral presentations. We get you to write up research or lab reports, empirical reports, which are similar to what you'd see in a journal article. We do things like blog posts, group work, and so on. So there's a range of different assessment. And that's all really beneficial for future life, future study, future workplace, that you've done those range of different assessment and developed new skills. So you might be noticing the first year at 0%, and that's what that split up there is exactly how your degree classification is worked out at the end of the 3 years. So your first year doesn't count towards your degree classification. And the reason we do that is we want to give you a chance to settle into uni, enjoy uni, but actually give it a go. You know, there's new assessment, there's new things, new types of classes, and actually we don't want students fearing, you know, trying and actually doing something slightly different for fear that it will impact their overall degree classification. So we give you that first year to really train you up on what's expected, but it still matters. You still need to pass the year, and actually you build on that learning so much in your second year when it does count towards your degree classification, that students do still take it very, very seriously that first year, because it's a real foundation to your future 2 years. But we don't want that stress of, you know, them first assignments impacting your overall degree. Second year is worth 1/3 of the degree classification, and third year, when you're really trained up into like how it is to write as a psychology researcher, for example, that's when the chunk it really impacts your grades. So it's 2/3 of your degree classification by third year. And that's the point where you've really been able to tailor the degree to the areas that really interest you as well. So I said I would come back to academic advisors and what they are. And that is an individual member of staff assigned to every student. So we know that these courses are big courses, and we know that students come to uni and it can be quite daunting. And we want students to feel that they've got an academic that they can go to ask questions, ask anything, or just to be signposted, or to chat to if they've got any additional struggles. So some students will meet the bare minimum, and you try and like, come on, we need to meet again this semester, and they're like, leave me alone, I'm fine. Others really want to meet staff and actually meet quite a lot, and it's a minimum that we meet twice a semester. So 2 times in semester 1 and 2 times in semester 2 is the minimum. So we check in across the year to check in on how the grades are going, you know, any options for career units, or any career plans. There's all sorts of things, any issues going on. But they can meet considerably more than that. Students can request a meeting at any point. And it's something that I think we do really well, and it's really important to us to make sure that every student has that person to turn to for support. Now, your academic advisor is someone you can go to for pastoral support, so whether it's to talk to or to direct to relevant support services, to talk about your academic progress, how your exams, how your grades are going throughout the semesters, or even to talk about career planning and future plans and decisions and so on. And they're often the person that you turn to for a reference as well, because you've got to know them quite well across the degree programme. So another thing I said I would come back to is the work placement option. So I mentioned that there is a careers module in year 2. And this is an option to do a short work placement in year 2. You don't have to, but we have it embedded into the programme to give you a chance to go out on placement and get some work experience, a 30-hour placement. And we have a team that help you find these placements. You're not just left to go and find it. If you didn't want to do the 30-hour work placement in year 2, there is an alternative careers module that also just gets you thinking about, you know, interviews, CVs, and gets all your plans and gets you really engaging with thinking about it. And we want to embed it rather than just doing your degree, then thinking about your career. Actually think about it and build up the experience you can get throughout the 3 years. So that's one option, the short work placements, 30-hour option in year 2. But there's also, as I said, the option to go and do a full year after year 2. And of course, you can do both if you wanted to as well. Now, students are helped with the year placement and go and finding a placement, or they can find something on their own. It's completely fine. We have a whole careers team helping. And students will go and do a range of different placements. So, you know, from working with a trainee psychologist or an academic or a advertising agency, it really ranges. So we've had students go and work in external research institutions. So we had a student go to the Great Ormond Street Institute of Child Health to do a placement. We've had students work internally doing research at the University of Manchester. So we've had students at the Lucid Child Study Centre, which is just across the road behind the Manchester Museum. We've had students working with our health psychology team and so on. So they'll go and do placements internally with the research that goes on. And then we have students who go and do corporate work. We've had HR at Dow Egberts, for example, a student did recently, and a range of marketing companies. So it's a real range, as is the nature of psychology. But it really gets you thinking about what you want to do, or ruling out an option in whichever way it goes. And again, the BPS, who came in very recently to reaccredit, really praised the fact that this was embedded into the programme rather than it just being a side thing that we encourage students to do. So the other option then, study abroad, if you were interested in doing that, is an opportunity to turn your degree into a 4-year degree by going studying psychology abroad at an English-speaking institution in your 3rd year. Now, it's an amazing opportunity. There are some requirements in terms of needing to average at a 60 throughout year 1 and 2, but that's something you get the information on, of course, if you join us. Students absolutely, you know, benefit and love this experience. They obviously not only gain amazing experience, they feel that they get an in-depth understanding of psychology from another institution, but they gain additional life experience as well from their time away. Now, we're partnering with a number of institutions across a range of countries, but as I said, English-speaking institutions. So there's USA, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. We have Madrid in Spain. We've got Amsterdam, and we've also got Hong Kong, and I think Copenhagen is coming on board as well. So we've got a lot of institutions, and some are more competitive than others. But if that was something that interested you, you could just join us at Psychology on the degree programme, and you find out throughout the course what your options are. It's not something, as I said, that you have to decide beforehand, but it's an amazing opportunity if that was something that interested you. So I'm hopefully emphasising that I think we're a really career-orientated degree programme. So the university level careers service across the uni is excellent, has actually won awards for the best university for graduate employment. We've got a dedicated team, careers team, that students can go to any time to talk about their CV, to talk about their career path, what they need to do, what they need to get, interview practice. They can actually access this for 2 years after graduation as well. So we're really proud of that careers service. And the uni is always putting on things like graduate recruitment fairs, postgraduate study fairs, you know, internship programs, mentors, and so on. But at a program level, we also really dedicate a lot to careers development as well. So I've mentioned the career units, the 30-hour placements, the optional year, but we also hold things like alumni panels where we have ex-psychology students come and talk about the different career paths they've gone to, and it gives students a real chance to see what their career options are with psychology. We offer summer internships to our students across the course as well to give you a chance to really broaden your CV, but also learn new skills and get new experiences. So, in terms of career options with psychology then, there really is a huge range of career options. And as you'll know and see, everyone's really getting to the stage where they see just how applicable psychology is to a range of different areas in everyday life. So about 15 to 20% of students go on to continue to train after their undergraduate degree to become a professional psychologist. So doing a doctorate to become an educational psychologist or a clinical psychologist, for example. But a lot of other students go into more applied context and a range of excellent careers in things like teaching, police, counselling, journalism, advertising, marketing, business, public relations, management, and just seeing how applicable psychology is to so many of these domains. And it really is an in-demand degree programme. So top employers do come to Manchester to recruit graduates. And also, just to really highlight that psychology is an unusual degree in that you come out of it with a high level of literacy in terms of you read a lot of journals, you write a lot of reports, essays and so on, so it's high levels of literacy, but also high levels of numeracy, so you collect, analyse and interpret data throughout the programme as well, and not a lot of degree programmes really have that focus on both elements. So a lot of employers, value that and value the skills that psychology students come out of the programme with. In terms of entry requirements then, so we are after AAA, and we do need one or more of psychology, biology, human biology, chemistry, physics, statistics, maths, further maths or applied science. So you need one of those. So if you've got one of those and are on path for an AAA, you would be made an offer. Now, if you've got alternative entry requirements or you're interested in looking at the contextual admissions, which is there's a contextual admissions calculator on the website to see if you're eligible, which is certain postcodes, certain schools have a contextual flag. You can have a look at that, and that might change your offer. But if you've got an unusual pathway, you've not come through typical A-level pathway, there's all entry requirements are listed on our webpage. And if you do have any particular questions, then our administrators over at the GMAT Farland stand are the best people to ask. They know all about, international alternative entry requirements. So they're definitely the people to go to. If you don't have time to go today, this email address here is who you can go to ask about any specific entry requirements. I just want to quickly mention cog, neuro and psychology. So some of you might be interested in this. It's a different degree programme, but it's 50% of the psychology degree programme. Now, it's more of a focus on the biology, biosciences, neuroscience focus, but students will do half of the psychology modules that I've mentioned, and they also do half cognitive neuroscience modules as well. It's still got all the elements of focusing on research and data and lab skills. They still do a final year research project, which can be psychology-based or neuroscience-based. There's still the same placement options. It's still an accredited degree by the British Psychological Society. The entry requirements are slightly different. It depends on how many sciences you're doing, and they are a bit stricter with needing a core science of biology, chemistry, physics, and maths, one of them, plus another science. It doesn't have to be core. I won't get into the details of that. If you're interested, the Cog Neuro students are at the stand, as well as the administrators who can answer your questions there. So, if you do want to come along to the stand and have any questions, the student ambassadors will be there. I think we're there till about 3:30. But if you don't get a chance, you can always go on the website and Unibuddy pops up, which has got current students there who can answer questions and have a chat with you. But otherwise, thank you very much. I know it's been very hot, so hope you're all okay. Thank you.